Hello everyone, this is John Hashmat and welcome to Physics Simply. In this video I will be solving the paper 2 exam for May-June 2022, variant 2. So let's get started. Question 1 says very small values of which quantity are measured using a micrometer screw gauge. It's not time, pressure, nor moment, it's distance. Question 2 says a man stands next to a railway track. A train traveling at 40 meters per second takes 2 seconds to pass the man. So we have speed and we have time, and we need the length of the train, which is distance. So we can use distance equals speed multiplied by time. So we multiply 40 by 2, that gives 80 meters. Question 3 says which quantity is equal to acceleration, area under a distance time graph. Nothing is equal to the area under a distance time graph. Area under a speed time graph, no, that's displacement or distance. Gradient of a distance time graph, no, that's speed. Gradient of a speed time graph, yes, so the answer is D. Question 4 says on the moon all objects fall with the same acceleration. Which statement explains this? On the moon all objects have the same weight. That's not correct. The moon has a smaller gravitational field strength than the Earth. Yes, but it does not explain why all objects fall with the same acceleration. The weight of an object is directly proportional to its mass. Yes, because weight is equal to mg, and g is the gravitational acceleration and the gravitational field strength. So g must be constant, so for the weight and mass to be proportional. So all objects have the same g and all objects have the same acceleration, so the answer is C. Question 5 says a measuring cylinder contains 30 centimeter cubed of a liquid. Some more of the liquid is added until the liquid level reaches 50 centimeter cubed mark. The reading on the balance increases by 30 grams. So the increase in mass was 30 and the increase in volume was from 30 to 50. That's 20 centimeter cubed. And density equals mass over volume. So we divide 30 by 20. This gives an answer of 1.5 grams per centimeter cubed for density of the liquid. Question 6 says an object moves at constant speed around a circular path. Which statement is correct? A resultant force acts on the object outwards from the center of the circle. No. The resultant force acts on an object in the direction it is traveling. No. A resultant force acts on the object towards the center. Yes, towards the center it's a centripetal force. So the answer is C. Question 7 says a beam is pivoted at one end as shown. The beam weighs 6 Newton and its weight acts at a point X 40 centimeters from the pivot. A force of 4 Newton is applied to the beam, causing it to balance horizontally. So the 6 Newton load is causing a clockwise moment, so we need an upward force to counteract this clockwise moment by creating an anti-clockwise moment. So it must be upwards, the force must be upwards. So A and B are eliminated, and we can calculate the distance from the pivot using the equation of the principle of moments. Clockwise moments equal to anti-clockwise moments. So 6 multiplied by 40 is equal to 4 multiplied by the distance from the pivot. So the distance would be 6 times 40 over 4, which is equal to 60 centimeters from the pivot, not from X. So we need either 20 centimeters to the left of X or 20 centimeters to the right of X. It's 60 centimeters. This means 20 centimeters is okay, but it is to the right of X, not to the left. So the answer is D. Question 8 says the diagram shows two forces acting at right angles to each other. What is the resultant of the two forces? So since the forces are drawn tail to tail, we need to close a parallelogram and then draw the diagonal. Drawing this diagonal, it would create a right angle triangle with two sides 4 and 3, and the resultant is equal to the hypotenuse. Using Pythagoras theorem, the resultant is equal to the square root of 3 squared plus 4 squared. This gives an answer of 5 newtons. So the answer is B. Question 9 says which statement describes the impulse acting on an object? Impulse is a change in kinetic energy. No, it's a change in momentum. So the answer is B. Question 10 says a ball of mass 0.16 kilograms is moving forwards at a speed of 0.50 meters per second. A second ball of mass 0.10 kilograms is stationary. The first ball strikes the second ball. The second ball moves forward at a speed of 0.50 meters per second. So using the equation m1u1 plus m2u2 equals m1v1 plus m2v2, and taking the first mass to be m1, the second mass to be m2. These are the initial velocities u1, and u2 is equal to 0 since it was stationary. This is v2 because it is of the object of mass 2, 0.10 kilograms, and then we substitute by the numbers. Here we have 0.16 multiplied by 0.50 plus 0, the momentum of a stationary object is 0, equals to m1, still 0.16 multiplied by v1, the required speed, plus m2, 0.10 multiplied by the final velocity of object 2, 0.50. So we move this bracket to the other side by subtraction, then we divide by 0.16. This gives an answer of 0.1875, which we can approximate to 0.19. So the answer is B. Question 11 says a tennis ball is dropped from position 1. It falls vertically onto a hard surface at position 2. Which energy changes have taken place? So usually when something falls, it loses gravitational potential energy. So we start with GPE and its speed increases. So this is converted to kinetic energy. But if you look closely, the shape of the ball changed. So this is a conversion to elastic or strain energy. So the answer is B. Question 12 says a boy holds onto a bar and pulls himself up until his chin is level with the bar. He raises himself through 40 centimeters in 0.5 seconds, and the weight of the boy is 500 newtons. What is the average power he produces? So power is equal to work divided by time, and work can be calculated force times distance, so force times distance over time, and we have all these values, but we need to convert the distance into SI units. The force is 500. The distance is 40 divided by 100 to convert from centimeter to meters, so 0.4 meter. Then we divide by the 0.5 seconds time. This gives an answer of 400 watts. Question 13 says the diagram shows a deep reservoir formed by a dam. On what does the pressure at X depend? Pressure in a liquid is equal to rho GH, so density of the liquid, gravitational field strength, and the depth. So the depth of the water at X, yes. The length of the reservoir, no. Surface area, no. Thickness of the dam wall, no. Question 14 says the conditions of a sample of gas change in two stages: increase of temperature at constant volume, increase of volume with no further change in temperature. Which row about the pressure after each stage is correct? So for stage 1, the increase in temperature would cause an increase in pressure. Then as volume increases, pressure decreases because pressure and volume are inversely proportional at constant temperature. So the pressure decreases after that. So the answer is C. Question 15 says small pollen particles are suspended in water. When viewed with a microscope, the pollen particles can be seen to be moving about irregularly. What causes this movement? Is it A, the pollen particles are being bombarded by heavier particles? No, not heavier particles of water. It's lighter particles of water. The temperature is not causing this, so the answer is B. Question 16 and 17 are not in the new syllabus, so you can skip these two questions. Question 16 says the diagram shows a liquid and glass thermometer. Which physical property of the thermometer is used to measure the temperature? It is the expansion of the liquid, either the mercury or the alcohol inside the capillary tube and the bulb. Question 17 says a block of lead of mass 500 grams is at its melting point. The specific latent heat of fusion of lead is 23 kilojoule per kilogram. So we need to convert the 500 grams into kilograms. That's 0.500 kilograms. How much energy is required to completely melt the block? So we can use the equation Q equals ml, or energy equals mass times latent heat capacity. So 0.5 times 23,000 for kilo. This gives an answer of 11,500 joules. So we can approximate that to 12,000 joules. So the answer is B. Question 18 says a glass contains an iced drink. On a warm and humid day, water starts to form on the outside of the glass. What is the name of the effect by which water forms? So this is from water vapor to liquid water. This is condensation. Question 19 says one end of a copper bar is heated to a high temperature. Which mechanism is responsible for the transfer of thermal energy to the other end of the copper bar? So this is a metal. It depends on the lattice vibration of the copper molecules or atoms, and it also depends on energy that the electrons transfer when moving along the bar. So it's lattice vibrations and electrons. C says a movement of high energy copper ions along the bar, so ions do not move in solids. D says the movement of high energy electrons along the bar only, not only, it also includes the lattice vibrations, so the answer is B. Question 20 says 4 cubic copper containers are filled with water. The surfaces of all the containers are painted black. 2 of the containers have sides of length 20 centimeters and the other 2 containers have sides of length 40 centimeters. So 2 small containers and 2 large containers. 2 of the containers contain water at 80 degrees and the other 2 have 30 degrees in them. Which container radiates energy at lowest rate? Lowest rate is caused by either a small surface area or low temperature or bright or shiny color of the surface. So they are all painted black, so the color has no effect. So the lowest rate would be due to small surface area and due to low temperature, so the answer is A. Question 21 says the diagram shows a wave. This is displacement distance graph. Which row is correct? Amplitude and wavelength. So amplitude is from the undisturbed position to a peak, crest or trough. So this is 1. So the amplitude is 1. And the wavelength is between 2 corresponding points or 2 identical points like these, which makes the wavelength 8. So the answer is B. Question 22 says the water wave shown has a frequency of 4 Hertz. What is the speed of the wave? Speed is equal to wavelength multiplied by frequency, but we don't have the wavelength. This is not the wavelength. The wavelength is along the direction of travel of the wave. But here we have from crest to crest, that's one wave, second wave, and the third wave. To get the wavelength, we need to divide the 36 centimeters by 3, since we have 3 waves. This gives a wavelength of 12 centimeters. Then we can use this wavelength to multiply it with frequency, and the units required are centimeters per second, so we do not need to convert centimeters into meters. So 12 multiplied by 4, that gives an answer of 48 centimeters per second, so the answer is C. Question 23 says a student uses one eye to look at images in a plane mirror. Objects are placed on the line XY. Which objects give rise to images that can be seen by the eye? So the edges of the mirror would be giving these rays to the eye. So this is the limit of the reflection of the objects. So by drawing normals and drawing approximately equal angles, so the light can only come from here or from this region on the right side, and from here or this region on the left side. So we have Q, R, S, and T within that range, no P, no U. So the answer is B, since this contains P and this contains U, and it's not R and S only, it's Q, R, S, and T. So the answer is B. Question 24 says an object is placed in front of a converging lens of focal length 15 centimeters. Which row describes the image of the object? So if the distance is less than the focal length, that gives a virtual image, which is always upright and is always magnified or enlarged. If the distance is greater than 15, that's always real and always inverted. If the distance is between the focal length and twice the focal length, so it's greater than 15 and less than 30, this gives an enlarged image and it's still real and inverted. If the distance is greater than twice the focal length, this would cause the image to be smaller. And if it's at twice the focal length, it would create the same size. So we can follow these values. So 40 is greater than twice the focal length, so it's real and it's not upright. So we can check real and virtual first. So 40, 30, 20 are all greater than the focal length, so it should not create a virtual image. So it's not B and it's not A. 20 is a real, inverted, yes. Diminished, no, since it is between the focal length and twice the focal length, so it should be enlarged. The last one is 10, that's less than the focal length, so it's virtual, upright, and enlarged. That's correct, so the answer is D. Question 25 says the speed of light in air is 3 times 10 to the power of 8 meters per second. The critical angle for light in a transparent plastic material placed in air is 37 degrees. What is the speed of light in the plastic material? So we have two equations that include refractive index. Refractive index is equal to the speed in air over the speed in the other medium. So here it's plastic. And is also equal to 1 over sine the critical angle. So we can use these two equations or these two parts of the equation to calculate what we need. So we have the speed in air 3 times 10 to the power of 8, and the speed in the plastic that's required in the question is equal to 1 over sine 37. So we can use cross multiplication. We multiply 3 times 10 to the power of 8 by sine 37 divided by 1. That gives an answer for the speed 1.8054 times 10 to the power of 8. So we can approximate it to 1.8 times 10 to the power of 8. So the answer is A. Question 26 says which part of the electromagnetic spectrum is used by a remote controller for a television? Remote controllers use infrared waves because they have a long range of frequencies. Question 27 says which statement correctly compares radio waves and X-rays? So radio waves have a longer wavelength than X-rays. Yes, longer wavelength is correct. So C and D are eliminated. And greater speed in vacuum? No, not greater. It is the same speed. All electromagnetic waves move with same speed in vacuum or in air or free space. So the answer is B. Question 28 says the diagram shows the magnetic fields around three objects P, Q, and R placed close to each other. Which row shows the nature of each of the objects? So P and R have magnetic fields, so they are permanent magnets. But the magnetic field points away from the North Pole and towards the S pole. So here is N and this is S. So we check these first. So for P, all the choices are correct. And for R, choice A is not correct since it's reversed. And C is also not correct. So for Q, since it does not have magnetic field, means that it is not a magnetic material since it's placed between two magnets and still not magnetized. So it cannot be an iron rod, it must be a copper rod. So the answer is B. Question 29 says a negatively charged rod is brought near to an uncharged metal sphere that is placed on an insulating stand. Which diagram shows the distribution of charges on the sphere? So when we place a negatively charged rod near a metal sphere, the free electrons are repelled, leaving the other side positively charged. So the answer is B. Question 30 says a resistor has a potential difference of 12 volt across it, a current of 0.60 amperes in it. What is the resistance of the resistor? Resistance is equal to voltage divided by current. So we divide 12 by 0.60. That gives an answer of 20 ohms. So the answer is D. Question 31 says there is a current I in a resistor of resistance R for a time t. The potential difference across the resistor is V. Which equation gives the power P dissipated in the resistor? So this is a check if you can remember the equation of power or not. So P equals IR. No, it should be I squared R. So it's not A. P equals IT. That's also wrong. P equals IV. That's correct. That's the correct equation for power. Question 32 says the four circuits shown each contain 4 diodes. In which circuit is the direction of the current in the resistor always from the red terminal to the black terminal? So this is a full wave rectifier. In a full wave rectifier, all diodes that are opposite to each other must be pointing in the same direction. So this is a possible answer. A is a possible answer. B is also a possible answer since the opposite diodes are pointing in the same direction. Here it's not working and here it is not working, so it's not C or D. And we need the current to be moving from the red terminal to the black terminal. So it must be moving down from here. These two diodes can allow current to flow to that point, and then the current goes to the red terminal. So it is A. In B, we need the current to go in the same direction, but these diodes are pointing in the opposite direction, so the current is not allowed to reach this point, so it's not B. Question 33 says the diagram shows a battery connected to a potential divider and two lamps P and Q. The slider on the potential divider is moved from end X to end Y of the resistor. Which row shows the effect on the brightness of each lamp? So first, lamp P would not have any change when the other branch is changing, since it will always have the total voltage of the battery. So for lamp P, it's unchanged. For lamp Q, moving from X to Y, that increases the length of the resistance, so it increases the voltage across it and increases the voltage going to the lamp, so the current in the lamp increases and it becomes brighter. So the answer is C. Question 34 is about logic gates, so you can skip it for the new syllabus. What is the truth table for the logic gate shown by the symbol? This is an AND gate. An AND gate would get all the zeros except for the last one. 1 and 1 would give 1. An AND gate would show the opposite. All values would be 1 except 1 and 1 would give 0. So the answer is D. Question 35 says a coil XY is wound around a cardboard tube. When the S pole of a magnet is pushed into the coil XY, the galvanometer deflects to the left. What other movement of the magnet will produce a deflection to the left? So first, the S pole was approaching. That would cause a current that would induce an S pole opposite to it to stop the magnet from moving, or to try to stop the magnet from moving. According to Lenz's law, the induced current opposes the motion. In diagram A, an S pole is moving away, so that would induce an N pole. That's not the same, so it's not A. A north pole is moving away, that would induce an S pole here, so an N pole on the other side, so this is not the same also, so not B. A north pole approaching would induce an N pole, so it's not the same again, so it's not C. The answer must be D. An S pole moving away from this side would induce an N pole on this side to stopping from moving away, and an S pole on the other side, so this is the same as the question, so it would cause the same deflection to the left as the question, so the answer is D. Question 36 says which transformer can change 240 volts AC into 15 volts AC? We can use the equation VP over VS is equal to NP over NS. So VP over VS is 240 divided by 15. This gives an answer of 16. And we divide the number of turns. Here we have 800 over 40. This gives an answer of 20. B, we divide 1000 turns over 25. That gives 40. In C, we divide 2400 by 15 turns. That gives an answer of 160. And the last one is 1200 divided by 75. That gives 16, same as VP over VS. So the answer is D. Question 37 says the diagram shows a current carrying wire in a magnetic field. So there is already a current in the wire. In which direction is the force acting on the wire? So this can be done using Fleming's left hand rule. We have the magnetic field to the right and the current is into the page. So pointing to the right with the magnetic field with the index finger, and the middle finger is into the page. The thumb will be pointing towards the bottom of the page, so the answer is A. Question 38 says a scientist was asked to separate the following equations into two categories, nuclear fission and nuclear fusion. Which equations show nuclear fission? So fission is a splitting of a heavy nucleus into lighter nuclei. So this is one nucleus that splits into two nuclei. So this is fission actually. So one is one of them. Helium plus helium is equal to helium plus hydrogen. So this is not, this does not make sense. Nitrogen and hydrogen form oxygen. This is fusion, not fission. The last one, uranium, that splits into krypton and barium, that's splitting. So this is actually fission also. So it's 1 and 4. So the answer is C. Question 39 says, which radioactive source is used in a smoke alarm system and what is the reason for this? So smoke alarms use alpha particles because they have the most ionization power. So they create an electric current in the detector. So the answer is B. Question 40 says, a beam of alpha particles and beta particles is incident at right angles to an electric field. So like two plates, positively charged and negatively charged, oppositely charged means. Which statement about the deflection of the particles in the field is correct? Alpha particles deflect, but beta particles do not deflect. No, they are both charged, so beta not deflecting is not correct. Alpha particles deflect in the opposite direction of beta particles. That is actually correct, since alpha would go towards the negative plate and beta would go towards the positive plate. So the answer is B. This was the end of this exam. I hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you in the next video.